What is going on YouTube? It's your boy INKFERNO here, and I'm checking in once again with yet another tutorial. Yes, sir. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys how I was able to create this nice flyer for one of my own. So without much ado, let's get into business. So as I normally do, I'll create my document, so file new, and inside the document window I'm going to get the chance to input my values. So my width is going to be 5 inches, and then my height is also going to be 6 inches respectively. So unit of measurement is inches, width 5, height 6, resolution is 300 dpi. And also make sure that your color profile is on Adobe RGB. It's very important. Okay. So with everything set, I'm just going to create. So I have my document created. So what I normally do when it comes to my designing project is I design my titles even before I start with the positioning of my subject and also the layout of other elements that come with the artwork. So that is what I'm going to do for this particular project too as well. So I started with my title design. So in this case, Easter convention, that is going to be my title design. So I have it here. So T for the type 2 or the text 2. Okay, and I will type Easter and press enter to move the insertion point downwards, and I will type convention. Okay, convention. So I'll get something like this. So everything is invisible. The very reason why everything is invisible, everything is not visible, is that the color of our text is white. So you press Control, you press and hold Control, you add A to select everything, and then up here, just click and then change the color to not fully black, but somewhere this region. So you have something like so. So just press Control Enter to register the action. Press Control T and then scale up the size to get you somewhere like this. Okay. Take note of the kerning. Okay, the kerning, it is -30. So -30. If yours is 0, make sure that you input -30. So -30. Okay. All right. Control Enter. Enter to register the value, and make sure that you're on the move to. So V for the move to shortcut, and then reposition to get something like so. And now I think I started importing my elements, so my images. So my first image was this. So this here, and then I drag it inwards. And just as I explained the other time, Photoshop deals with layers. So if one layer is on top of the other, and then you want that layer you want the layer underneath it to be on top of it, you have to drag it and then place it underneath it. Okay, all right. So I'll just left click and hold on layer 1 and then drag it underneath the convention layer to replicate what I said. Or you to testify. So you right click on the image and then you convert it to smart object. It is going to help you with presentation issues later on. So press Ctrl T and scale it down. So like so. Okay. Then let's quickly import the rest of our images. So we have this minister of ours to just overseer. So you just import and then see, just as I did for the first one, you drag it underneath. So like so, you convert to smart object, then Ctrl T, then somewhere here, like so. Ctrl W to close it, and then this one to its next, just drag and drop. Just drag and drop, and like so. You also import it. So you convert it into a smart object. The very reason why I'm converting all my images into smart objects, just as I've said, it is going to give us the freedom to upscale and then downscale our images without pixelation issues. If you don't convert your image to smart object when working with search flyer designs, you see, with search flyer designs, you have to scale them down, scale them up sometimes to get the perfect look that you prefer, or the desired feel that you prefer for your layout of your images on that particular artwork. So you have to make sure that you have converted all these images into smart object, so that if you scale down and then at a point in the artwork you want to scale the image up for it to suit your preference or your desired look, you scale it up without any pixelation issues. So take notes, okay? All right. So you press Ctrl T and then you left click and drag from any point to scale it downwards from that particular point. Move this one here, left click and drag, press Ctrl T and somewhere here. So let's import our final image, I think here. So this is our final image. Let's import it as well, and like so. I'll just import it, and I think, yeah, something like that. And then, so right now we have our subject in there. So all that we have to do is to reposition, okay, or lay the images out in a way that suits our preference, or in a way that is going to make the artwork appear more professional. Okay, all right. So see, with churches, they deal with order, so you have to make sure that you lay the images accordingly. Okay, so just like so, like that. Then press Ctrl T, scale it down, so somewhere like so, and like so. So let's check on the other. So almost there. So this is quite big as compared to this. So just scale it down a little bit and scale this up to a little bit. So all that I'm doing is left clicking and then selecting, and then pressing and holding Control, adding T to transform, and then increase the size of that particular image that I would like to resize. And then like so. Okay. Like that. So like so. You see, good. So Control T on this image, and like so. So this is the general overseer. That is why I've increased the size of his image. Order is very, very important when it comes to designing church flyers. So always take note and do justice to that. So just then like so. Okay. So we have our images laid out, and yeah. So I did some few adjustments. I first started with the gradient down here. So I just came here somewhere here. I created a new layer with Control plus Shift plus N. Then I'll name it grad, and I'll go to OK. Everything is on normal. So G for the gradient to, and with this particular color, this is the color code. You can take a screenshot and then save it. So left click and drag. Okay, press Ctrl T on the gradient layer, hold Shift, and then distort expand. Okay, to give you something like so. Okay, so see, we have these hard edges there, and that is not making the whole thing look realistic, so we have to blend. All right, so we just add a layer mask to this particular layer, because that is the layer that we like to blend. So this time around, I rely on my tablet for the cleaning procedure for this particular thing. So I use a brush to soft round brush. Opacity is on somewhere 77, and I would start cleaning. like so. Yeah, so I would do so for this minister's image by just clicking on it and then adding a layer mask, and just as I did for the first image too, I'll do so for this particular one, and I'll use the brush tool to paint um, to get me something like so. And I'll select this image too. I'll convert it to a smart object. It's very, very, very important. And then add a layer mask, and then B for the brush tool, and then I paint it around that particular side too. Just paint it. Okay, just paint it like so. So just like that, we are getting close. So I further expanded the gradient application here, the gradient layer here, by pressing Ctrl T and you see dragging it further upwards. Okay, further upwards like so. So you see the effect that I'm getting. Okay, from deep blue to this lighter one, and then to almost white. So afterwards, I did this. I added a gradient map. Okay, because if I would like to erase certain areas of that particular layer, and so that's why I need a gradient. I need a layer mask, because without the layer mask, I can't do that. Okay, good. So B for the brush tool, and then I would apply black. So just as I told you guys at that time, black hides on layer mask and white reveals, and vice versa. Okay, all right. I'm moving fast in this tutorial, so you guys should pardon me for that because of time. Okay, all right. So I have something like so, and yeah. So what I did afterwards was I was contemplating on um, how to not use a fully white background against the blue, but to use somewhere around almost white. See that vibe? So that was what I wanted for my background. So because of that, I came about the idea of using a almost gray layer, okay, for my background, and have white like at the edges. So this was how I was able to create this effect. Okay, so I created a new layer after that particular thought came to mind, and so I just see like this, okay, or Control Shift N. So new layer, and then I just went to somewhere here, like so, almost FF, so somewhere like so, ED. So you guys can copy the color code. Now I went to OK, and then I held Alt and then backspace to apply my foreground color. Alt backspace applies foreground color. So I pressed and hold Control, I added T, and I got the transform bounding box as you would normally get when you press and hold Control and add T, and then Alt, left click and drag like so. And then I pressed Enter to register action. So right now I got this. So you know me, I normally like to kind of apply white at the back of my subject. It's what I normally do. It's a normal practice. So right on top of the gradient layer, I created this layer, and I would rename it white. So I'll give it a color code of somewhere around green. Green for safety. Okay. And then B for the brush tool, and opacity is on 77, and I would apply. No, I forgot to change this to white, and I would apply like so. So I added something extra. So this is what I did. You see, I have this particular tones layer. I downloaded it from the internet. So I converted its color to black and white in Photoshop, saved it, and then I imported it into Adobe Illustrator, and then I used the image trace tool to turn it into vector, and then I was able to get this particular layer out of that. I wanted to illustrate it here, but my machine cannot withstand Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop at the same time. So that is why I have saved it as a PNG file. So I would do so. I would just import it into this particular area. So I press Ctrl T. First convert it to a smart object before even pressing Ctrl T. And Ctrl T, and then see, rotate it, or let's say tilt it to somewhere this particular way, and then hold Alt, left click and drag from that point to scale from all angles and rotate it to this particular area, and like so. Yeah, so you see everything in there looking awkward because you have this black at the back of our subject and it is not looking aesthetically pleasant or pleasing to the eye. So I changed the color. So I just double clicked somewhere here on the tones layer and I changed the color from here to white. So like so, and I held I held down control, either T, and tilted it one more time, and this time around I think I increased the size further like so, and yes, so somewhere like so, so just like that. See, you're almost there. So I see just about increasing. If you are the I want the exact thing merchant, so you just increase till okay. So I got something like this out of that, and afterwards I was like, the title can't be black, so let me change it. So I just change it from here to white, and I have this thought in mind. You see, the tones, okay, the tones image itself is bent. So I thought of it that why then, see, why then not bend my title to also conform with the bend that is on the tones, okay, layer. So I decided to bend my Insta convention title down to make it straight. So I went to I first held down Control, I added T, and I went here. Okay, this particular icon. As soon as you press on the combination that I've done, you are going to get this particular icon. Control T, you get this, and then you just click on it, and then you get, you see, we have warp, we have bend, we have height, we have vertical. Okay, so I will change inside the warp. I will change the warp type from arc to this particular arc. Okay, we have two different type of arcs. Okay, so I chose the second one, and I made sure that my values in there. So my bend was the 20. Yes, it was 20, not 200. 20.4. So that was my bend. Okay, that was my bend, and I went to okay or enter to register action, and I repositioned it like so. Okay, now I press Ctrl T and I increase the size further to give me something like so. Okay, that was how I was able to create this. Okay, so afterwards I like, it is not just Easter convention. Let me increase the size a little bit. It's not just Easter convention. We should know the year. Okay, so I just press and hold Control, added Shift, added N, press Enter to register. Okay, and then I pressed U for the shape 2, and then I changed the stroke from, so I disabled the stroke, and then I enabled the fill. So I held down Control, added space, left click, and then drag to my right hand side to zoom in, and then release everything, and then left click and drag to register my shape. Hold space when you want to reposition the space. When you want to reposition the shape with the left mouse button still pressed. So you just release, and then to somewhere here, hold space, reposition, and then release everything now. So I got something like this, and my color code, let me sample from here because I don't have it down. So I use this for my color, this pink for my color. Okay, so I have no curves in there, so 0, so like so. Okay, so I wasn't done yet. I pressed Ctrl T, and then right clicked and I went to skew. So I used this, then I skewed it. So I just used skew and then okay. So you see that when I skewed it that way, it has distorted my rectangle. Okay, so this time around or right now, if I want to readjust the curves inside the rectangle, I can't. Okay, so because of that, you can convert the layer into a smart object before skewing. Okay, so I'll quickly undo everything. And then I'll convert my rectangle layer into a smart object. Now press Ctrl T, and then I will right click and then skew this time around, and then I would left click and drag downwards to skew it this way. So in the future, if I would like to bend the edges of my rectangle, I can just double click inside the smart object layer and then bend the edges. Okay. So just like so, I will just leave it like that, and I'll start with my insertions. Okay, I'll start with my insertions. So it was 2026 that I did. So I use the same font. Okay, the same font, that is Sign It Grotesque. So T for the type 2, and then I typed 2026. So I clicked in here, press enter to break it down, and then register. V for the move to and the reposition. Expand the text properties or the type properties, and then change the tracking from 15 somewhere around 17 there about, and then like so. Okay, I select them together. So I hold the 2026. The 2026 is already selected. The 2026 is already selected. So I would hold down Control and I would add a rectangle. I press Ctrl T, and I would reduce the size like so. Ctrl T. Okay, reposition with the arrow key. So this was that was how I was able to create that. Okay, so afterwards I also created this. So just as I did for the first one, the same thing. So you create rectangle layer like so. Okay, somewhere like this, and then I don't want any curves around the edges, so I would go to 0, and then you see I'm going for the stuff I typed in there. So Thursday 2nd April, Thursday 2nd to Sunday 5th April. Like so, I paste. Okay, so just as you can see, the registered layer or the types inside the registered layer looked kind of slanted. Okay, the very reason why they are slanted is that I use the text line 2, okay, inside the text options to slant them. Okay, because Sign It Grotesque or Grotesque doesn't have a slanted font style, okay, or font family. So that was why I did it manually. Okay, so like so, you see, I use the text slant option to slant the text. Okay, that is the view that I wanted. Okay, that is why I created it like so. Okay, so without it, we have our text like that, and with it, you have something like so. Very nice. Register the action, and I believe you understand why the TT selected all caps. Okay, the TT here, it means all caps. So I press Ctrl T. I will reposition like so. Now select my rectangle, press Ctrl T, and left click and drag like so to increase the size, and yeah, something like that. Ctrl T one more, left click and drag to increase, and like so. Okay, so just as you did for this, okay, you right click and then convert to smart object, press Ctrl T right click and skew. Okay, hold shift and then left click and drag to your left hand side. Okay, right hand side is going to do vice versa. Okay, so you get something like so, and press Ctrl T. Okay, and then left click and drag. Okay, all right, so like so, I think that was how I created this. You see there is this blue here. Some of you be like, so how were you able to create that? It's just simple. You just have to make sure that you have the color that you have this color in here. Okay, you have this color in here. Okay, this color here, and just select the rectangle, press Ctrl Shift N, new layer, enter, Ctrl Alt G to clip mask it onto the layer right underneath it, and G for the gradient to left click and drag, hold shift to constrain the application on a straight line and release. So like so, shift, like left click and drag with shift, you see, like so, just like that. Left click and drag with shift. This time around, you move the pointer a bit forward and then drag like so. So yeah, you see that? All right. So select, see the rectangle, the date, okay, Control T, and then you scale them down like so. So I added these two. So right click, so U, and then you can use LS, you can also use the shape to the rectangle to do that. So like so, then I just increase it upwards. Okay, now I change the color to yellow like so. Yeah, like so. I believe you guys are enjoying the tutorial so far. Don't forget to like and drop any comment inside the comment section in case you don't get anything inside the video. All right, let's get to work. So just like that, just bring it here, and then you press Ctrl J to duplicate the date layer or the Thursday layer, and then you reposition it somewhere here, and then you drag it on top of the yellow rectangle layer, and then which is now ellipse. Okay, all right, and then press Ctrl Enter, and then use the greater than or the less than key. Just hold down Shift, add that key, then you get something like this. Okay, less than, and then you position it somewhere like so. You press Ctrl Enter. Okay, and then you sample the color from here, and then you are through. Okay, just like that. Okay, so that was basically how I was able to create that. Yes, like so. I just zoom in with Control and space bar held down, and left click and drag to the left, and then I would reposition, Control T. Okay, like so. Reposition, you get that, and you add these ones to it as well. Okay, you get it. I normally don't want my text to be too close to the edges, so I'll press Ctrl T, and I would scale them down a bit downwards. And I think I should reduce the size of the rectangle because it is too lengthy. Okay, so how to reduce it? Okay, so this is where the smart object layer is going to become very, very, very useful. Okay, so now that we have our layer, rectangle layer converted, we just have to double click inside it, and then we have the smart object layer open, then we work over there. Okay, all right, we double click, and then right now our smart object layer is going to open, which is having our rectangle in there. So all that you have to do is to edit the values. Okay, all right. So press Ctrl T, and then you hold down Shift and then left click and drag like so. Press Ctrl Enter to register. Press Ctrl S to save, because you have to save for it to overwrite so that it takes effect inside the mother layer. Okay. So you come in here and then like so. See, it shifted a bit, so you have to shift it back in place. So you hold down Shift and then you shift it back in place and like so. Okay. All right. So you just select everything. So hold down with the rectangle layer selected. We have likely had this range, so you just have to hold Shift and then select this range so that everything in here will be selected. Press Ctrl T and increase the size a little bit and then reposition like so. Yes, like so. And yeah, okay, and the rest are all just insertions. So this was insertion, the rest are insertions. So these are the key ones I would like you to note with our images. They're very, very, very important. Okay, so what I did was, with every image, okay, I'll give it a gradient map. Okay, so I'll go to adjustments and gradient map and Ctrl or G to clip mask it. Okay, now I'll click in here and I'll change the colors. So this is going to be black and this is going to be white. It looks awkward, but it's going to turn out good at the end. Okay, all right. So this is going to be white and then okay, and I'll shift the midpoint a little bit somewhere here by left clicking and dragging, and I'll go to OK. Now I'll change the blending mode from normal to this soft light. Yes, soft light. So you can see the difference. You see before and then the after. You see the difference. Yes, that is how special the gradient map adjustment can be when you use a wall. Okay, all right. So we have that, and we are going to work on some few changes in there. So you select the master layer, which is this, and then you go to image, adjustments, and shadows and highlights. I believe you're all familiar with shadows and highlights because I worked with shadows and highlights at that time. So I believe all of you guys are familiar. So if you are not familiar, please visit my first video. I'm going to link it up here. Visit it. Okay. All right. So the values is going to be 35 and 53 and 30. Yeah, 30 and then 0 and then 50, like so. Okay. So we have our before, and then we see our before and our after. Okay, good. So let's do same. So just as you can see, okay. So let's do same for this. Okay. So we just, without wasting time, we just have to copy the same gradient map. We come in here and then we press Ctrl V, Ctrl or G. Make sure that you always clip so that it doesn't affect the other layers inside, the other layers underneath it. Okay, so that it affects only that particular one layer. And then you select it. It's already on soft light. You have to select the main layer and then go to image, adjustments, and shadows and highlights. So this one too as well. See, we have that. Okay, good. So before and after. Okay, we come to this particular image too as well. We already have our gradient map adjustment copied onto our clipboard. So what that we have to do is to press Ctrl Alt V, paste Ctrl or G to clip mask, and then we have our image in place. Go to image, adjustments, and shadows and highlights, and this time around you just check some few things in there as to the values, and then you are good to go. So for this image, you are not going to do much. Okay, you're not going to do much. It's just going to be 53, almost close to the first one, but a bit because of the color of the subject. He is dark as compared to, dark in complexion as compared to the rest. So we just take all those into consideration, and we do justice to that. So like so, yeah. just like that. Okay, just like that. So I believe you guys are enjoying the video. Okay, so something like that, and okay, you're good. So we have our befores and we have our after. So let's work on this, Control or G. And with this image, we have to work on the midpoint slightly. We have to shift the midpoint a bit in here, like so, before we apply the adjustment on the master layer, image adjustment, shadows and highlights, and like so. So 42 and 50 and 30 and amount is on 5, and yeah, so reduce the color like so, somewhere -20 there about, because his image is very colorful. And yeah, so we do same for this image. We reduce the color slightly, yes, and then you go into the gradient map adjustment, then you work on the midpoint furthermore, like so, and just like that we are good. Okay, just like that we are good. Okay, all right. So yeah, that was how I was able to create this particular artwork. Okay, all these lots are just insertions. Okay, this is just the theme I just typed. Okay, I just typed, so okay, I just drag and drop it in here like so. Okay, now I'll drag it on top of every layer inside that particular document, this particular document, so that it comes on top, and I will reposition. I only copied the venue and then the icon because I want to do something. I want to illustrate something for you guys to see. So I just paste them here. Okay, like so. So there was this curvy rectangle or rounded rectangle around the location when I took it, but right now you see that I left it. I want you guys to see how I did it. So I would group this, now name it venue. I would expand it, and inside it I'll create a new layer. I'll go to U for the shape tool, and I'm going to drag and drop like so. I'm going to drag and extend. When I'm done with everything, I will release. So I'll have something like this. Let me increase this. Let me just increase something like this. And then I can use this to work on the curves. You can also do it here. So like so. Disable the fill. Enable the stroke with white color here. And maybe 2 and V for the move to. You get something like this. And make sure that the rectangle layer is selected. Add a layer mask, V for the brush tool, and reduce the size of the brush and then mask out this particular area. Use hard round. Opacity should be on 100% because we want everything to go. Reduce the brush size with the bracket keys or by doing it here. Okay, so like so, like so, like so. Okay, select this, press Ctrl T, and then reduce the size like so. Okay, press and hold Ctrl Shift N to create a new layer. Press Enter to register, and press U for the shape tool. Right click on the rectangle, go to ellipse, and disable the fill once again. Enable the stroke, going for somewhere around 3. Press Enter, 3 pixels, and left click and drag like so. See a distorted. See, this is okay. This is distorted ellipse like so, and see what I have. Okay, I can change the pixels or the size of the width of the up to somewhere around back to 2% so that I can see that the thickness will be a bit okay. So I have something like so. And on the complex stuff, I just moved it upwards, added the gradient, added the layer mask, and then B for the brush to my erase this particular area off. Okay, like so. Okay, so you can see that our subject, the main subject, is kind of, because of the suit color. Okay, the suit color is kind of interfering with the details on top of it. That is the theme and also the location. So we have to blend it a little bit. So I introduced a new layer. Okay, this already clipped onto it. That is why there was a clip layer right on top of it. That is why the layer I created fell exactly into it, or fell exactly into that particular clipping category. So I'll just hold down Control and then use this bracket key to move it upwards. And then I would just press G for the gradients and then I would hold Shift, left click and drag upwards like so. Okay, let me use this. Let me swap the foreground and background colors. Let's do like so. This is too intense. Let me swap. Okay, like so. So Control T, and yes, Control 0. Yeah. Okay. And this one too was just on spacing stuff. I just spaced stuff in there. You see, it's the kerning. Okay, so in here you can see the kerning is on 540. If I take it back to 0, you see, just a normal test. Okay, so the kerning, the space between the individual characters inside the words that we have on that particular line, just space it out, something like so. And yeah, I think everything is done. And I scaled the images up a bit. Okay, so I selected them like so, then I scaled them up. I think I scaled them up a bit like so, and then I moved them down like so, and I reduce the vibrance on my image. I think this one, let me just reduce so I think I did reduce the fill of the gradient layer itself on it. Yes, so sometimes when you reduce the fill of the gradient layer on it, on a particular layer, sometimes it gives you a pleasant effect for that particular image, because not all image work well with 100% gradient map adjustment layers. Okay, so this one I've reduced the fill from 100% to 66%. Okay, you can reduce it further if the effect you want to achieve is not kind of looking close to you. So I just cascade this venue layer, select it, create a new layer on top, and then I would import the church name and then logo. Just like that. Okay, that was how I was able to achieve this artwork. Very simple. That was how I was able to create this. So thank you guys for watching and sticking around with me from the start to the end. So hoping for the best. Enjoy the week. I'm Inferno here. Peace.